Welcome back to Face the State on this Easter Sunday. We are joined once again by Governor Ned Lamont. And Governor, I want to talk about Ray Dalio, who, of course, came forward and donated millions of dollars to help education in our state. And I'm wondering, first of all, how that all came to be, but also, do you see some other business associates of yours and business contacts of yours coming forward to sort of follow suit?
I sure hope so. I mean, I said investment in education is the most important thing we do. Give each and every one of those kids a fair start at the starting line of life. And Barbara Dalio, Ray's wife, has spent the last 10 years working in our public schools, working with the most disadvantaged and disconnected kids. And she saw kids that were, falling off the track and worried whether they'd have an opportunity to get back on. And if they didn't, what happens to them? So she's informally been helping out at a lot of our public schools over the last decade or so. And she and Ray came forward with a $100 million contribution to the state, supporting our public schools, working with teachers to come up with the best ideas, after-school activities, summer programs that get kids back up to speed before the new school year begins. I thank them so much for their generosity.
Connecticut was losing some wealthy people. Do you think they're going to stay here because Ned Lamont is governor now? As you know, our income tax revenue went down significantly in recent years because a lot of wealthy people moved out of our state.
Look, I'm encouraging everybody I can to get involved in the state and be great citizens. And what Ray has done, Stanley Black & Decker and Travelers forgiving student loans, what we did when we, for the, federal employees who weren't getting paid, these are all acts where corporate and philanthropic people have come forward. You got to remember, this grant is going to be $300 million in total once we raise the additional tranche. That's going to represent significant money for the first time, empowering teachers. Give them a little bit of inspiration on how they can help out their kids. Give them a little bit of entrepreneurial zip. They're going to have some resources to help with those after-school activities.
The East Windsor Casino appears to be moving forward. We're still talking about sports betting, and I want to get your opinion on that in just a second. But first, what about a Bridgeport casino? Do you see one being built or at least approved in your 4 years in office?
Look, I think so. We're working with the tribes, trying to get a comprehensive solution, something in East Windsor. We'll see what happens with MGM. But I think this is something we ought to do. Call it a resort, call it a little bit of development. But a lot of people in the Bridgeport area, Bridgeport, New Haven, really believe that this is going to be part of their future.
Do you see something where MGM and the tribes get together and build it together?
That may be a bridge too far.
Well, who do you see building it?
Right now, MGM has said they wanted to do it. The tribes maybe are thinking about it. I've got to see how all the discussions come out. But I do think I want a comprehensive look. Sports betting and internet and all that stuff. Look, that's not the future of the state. I don't do this stuff. I don't care about it. But our neighboring states are doing it, and it's going to be part of a 21st century economy. We ought to be there.
As you know, the March Madness tournament, when it came to Hartford, brought tens of thousands of people to Connecticut. The hotels were booked way out in the suburbs. In fact, all the restaurants were busy. But it really cast a glare on the XL Center. What should be done with it? What should its future be? Do you see the state spending a lot of money to either rebuild it, build something new? And do you think it could ever attract perhaps an NHL team like the Whalers?
I think it could be an amazing facility that could attract Whalers or something like that. But I'm going to let, again, the private sector take the lead on this. We've introduced developers to the XL Center. We've shown them around, thinking about an RFP to get more people involved and looking at it. And if the state has to play a role, let the private take the lead on this, and we'll be there to make sure that we do our share to make sure the XL is what it should be.
So you think it's possible a big investor could just come forward and say, we want to do it, we want to build it?
That's a possibility. My hunch is if the state was alongside them, it'd be a lot easier to sell. But I want them to take the lead.
Let's talk about this debt diet in terms of bonding. In fact, a lot of mayors are saying, we're not going to get as much because of this debt diet. But in the big scheme of things, how's it going to help the state?
Oh, my God. Our bonding went through the roof over the last 8 years.
Yep.
Went up, 60%, $600 million plus every year, adding, $70 million a year to our fixed costs. And the reason S&P upgraded our, outlook was because, in part, they said we're finally getting our fixed costs under control. We're getting our pensions under control. We're doing a lot on employee health care, probably $100 million savings in the second half. And finally, we're cutting back on our appetite for debt. And that's why it's the exact wrong thing to say, rather than a debt diet, we're going to throw all the transportation bonding or $700 million a year into that same trough. That's the exact wrong way to go. We ought to keep the transportation in a lockbox for transportation off our balance sheet. That's for the fiscal integrity of our state and make sure the money goes to transportation. That's the right way to go.
As you know, they're looking at a potential name change for Bradley Airport to put a city on it or a region so that people know where that is. What kind of name do you favor?
Well, for $100 million, it could be FSB Airport. I mean, just thinking. Connecticut International Airport. I'll let the folks there, but I want people to know that the band formerly known as Bradley Airport is a major international airport serving New England, and it's a big part of Connecticut's future. And so I want a name that speaks to that.
And so you believe a new name might attract more businesses?
I think so.
Let's talk about back to the city of Hartford for a second. As you know, Mayor Luke Bronin is now being challenged by former Mayor Eddie Perez, who resigned in disgrace back in 2010. What kind of message does that send to potential investors that someone who left in shame now wants his job back in the capital city?
Well, I think you see a lot of that around municipal government around the country and here in the state. So I'll let that, primary sort its way out. But I do think that Hartford is on the rebound. And I was just at Stanley Black & Decker in their major opening for their tech center down there. And it introduces young people to what advanced manufacturing is, how high tech it is. People on their iPads as robots deliver the next, piece that you need for that installation. So that's part of what Hartford can be. We are going to be the advanced manufacturing capital of the world.
Is Mayor Bronin doing a good job, do you think?
I think he's doing a pretty good job.
Does he deserve re-election, in your opinion? Is this an endorsement?
Don't get me into all that.
Well,
but
not yet, anyway.
I think Hartford's on the rebound, and they're doing pretty well.
Let's talk about the DMV, because it's one of those agencies that pretty much everyone has to go to at one point, actually every 4 years for new licenses and new things like that. How do you envision it being streamlined, and how will it be better under your new DMV chief?
Well, the first thing we're doing is we're going right now through the legislatures. So the short-term fix is say, look, you don't have to renew your license every 6 years. You can renew it every 8 years. Hopefully that saves you a little bit of money, but more importantly, it'll shorten up those lines by 25%. In the meantime, we got somebody who comes out of tech at Aetna who's going to make sure the DMV moves in the 21st century. It's an online relationship. So you'll be able to electronically register your car, renew your license there, and even submit your own photo as part of your licensing. That's going to take us a few years, but we're working on that right now. I got to convince people that government is not a backwater. We can be as 21st century as Amazon or Facebook, and the relationship with government can be very similar. Right now we have 100,000 plus paper transactions we can do with government, and very few of them can be done online. That's going to turn itself on its head over the next 5 years.
Quick, fun question about the DMV. Do you think the license plate should be redesigned? The current design's been around for a while.
No opinion.
No opinion on that?
No
all right.
opinion at all.
Let's talk about the tourism campaign, Still Revolutionary, which you were very critical of as a candidate. Is there anything at the top of your head that you'd like to see it called?
Yeah, let's have a competition. Let's go online. Go to fsb.com. Give me a motto that tells a story about Connecticut that's turning the corner. Connecticut's an optimistic place to be. Connecticut with all of our amazing resources. Look, we're the best education state in the country, right? We got not only great K through 12, but the most amazing colleges. Maybe that's part of our message. Or a place where you want to start up a company. And we were the startup capital of the world. A few generations ago, we can be again. There are a couple of ideas.
What have we done wrong in terms of tourism, or what are we doing wrong?
We don't sell ourselves. You need somebody who believes in the state and can tell the story. And it's more than just how much more money you put into the tourism budget. It's getting all the different stakeholders together, how we do this online, how we get our word of mouth. But to me, it's really important. These are people coming to Connecticut, taking a look. I want tourists here. Some of them stay. Some of them start a business or a family.
Governor, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Happy Easter to the First Lady and your family. And we'll see you on here for the 200,
and to all of you, thank
200
you.
days in office.